and welcome to Neuraltech. In today's interview preparation session, we are going to discuss about very important topic. A lot of times these questions comes in a lot of interview. This is related to the customer behavior analysis. There are very few questions we are going to discuss today. So in our this particular SQL interview question session 3, we are going to discuss about these particular questions which are related to the customer behavior analysis for a e-commerce or retail analytics company. Before we jump into the solving these questions, let's first take a look at the two key tables involved here. One is customer table and one is sale detail table. And let's understand their respective schemas. So let's say we have two tables here. One is customer, select star from customer, or we can put this SQL server, select top 10 star from customer, and this gives us some information about customer. So here we have the customer key, which is a primary key, and then we have the first name, last name, and different information about the customer. And then in our second table, what we are going to use for this query is which will be sale order table or sales table. So we have a sale detail table. In sale detail table, we have all the order information and also item level information with the order date and all the kind of matrices what we need to track for the sales, orders, returns, all those information. So we are good in this part. Let's go back to the question. The first question was, which customer has placed more than 100 orders? So this was very simple. I mean, as we have kind of discussed earlier also. So these questions, we are going to figure it out data from the sales order table where any customer which has placed more than 100 orders. So let me write a query. Select, let's say, start from sales detail, and here we are going to use because as we need to figure it out the customer, so let's use customer and we'll be using a count function, and as we are using the aggregate function, will be group by particular customer wise count, and as our count should be more than 100, as we are looking for only customers which has placed more than 100 orders, so having count star greater than 100. So this will give us the exact result what we are going to expect. So let's say ordered by will be, I am just giving some alias name is as orders. So we'll just do the ordered by orders descending to have a more clean data. If any cost, we'll just kind of remove if there is any null values for the customer. If the customer is null, is not null. So now let's run this query, and these are the basically customers. So there are 631 customers which have put more than 100 orders. So very simple query. There is nothing much we can do here. It's a very simple query. We have wrote a simple count function and we have put a condition in through having. So having constant greater than 100. So this particular line is basically going to filter the data for those customers who have put more than 100 orders. Clear? So let's move to the next question. Our next question is, which customer didn't place any order? So which customer didn't place any order? So we have two tables here. So first table is, as we discussed, customer table, and second is sale order table. Sorry, sale detail table. So what we can do here, we can do a left join and also find out the customers which didn't put any or didn't place any orders. For finding out which customer didn't place any order, so this is the query. So I am going to do a left join between customer and sales detail table, and I am going to figure it out for that particular respective customer which is there in customer table, and if their respective customer in the FK customer column in the sales detail table is null, then we can find out that customer didn't put any particular order. So by running this query, we found out around 1290 customers who didn't place any order. They don't have any entries in the sale detail table. So these are the customers which a company can figure it out. These are the customers which are existing with them but are not putting any order. These are the bad customers. Okay, it's a very simple one. We just did a left join because left join will give all the customer names from the left table, which is customer here, and only the matching record from the right table if they have a match. If they don't have a match, it will give the value as null for the right table column. Clear, guys? To move to the next question. Next question is which customer has second highest order? Okay, in terms of the value. Okay, in terms of the the order value. So let's say we want to figure it out which customer has the second highest order value. So which customer has second highest order order value. So to figure it out which customer has second highest order value, there are two ways to do it. One way will be using rank function. Okay, we can use rank function or windows function, and it's a very simple one. We can use a window function, rank every customer on the order value. We can find out the second highest customer. But a lot of time in interviews, they ask without using windows function how you can answer this question. If you came to know this kind of questions where they ask you to find out the second highest or third highest, all those kind of, what to say, all those kind of interview questions, how to figure it out the answer without using the Windows function. So what we can do, we can write a query. The query will be something like this. The query will be, I am just like, kind of as we are going to find the second hash, I'm going to write a query like this. Select FK customer from cell detail where 2, because we are looking for the second hash order value. And then we can take the select count distinct order value from the cell detail. This is inner join. Sorry, this is self join. I'm joining the cell detail with the cell detail, but the order value of the first reference of cell detail should be less than equal to the order value of the second reference of the same table. This is going to give us the second highest order value placed by a particular customer. And as I told you, there will be another way which will be very simple, that is using a rank function. So using a rank function. So if you use this rank function, you are able to also calculate the this particular, let's say I'll put the distinct here. So this distinct this customer is basically has put 13,631. The order value for this particular customer is 13,631, which is the second highest order for any customer for this particular table. The question is very simple and you can answer it in multiple ways. One way is using a Windows function, which is easy to use. But a lot of time, if interviewer doesn't want you to use a Windows function, they want you to figure it out the answer in some other way, then you can always go with the above query. Okay, let's move to the next question. Next question is which customer has put more orders in last 5 years? So let's see how to do this. So let's figure it out. Which customer has put maximum orders in last 5 years? So which customer has put maximum orders in last 5 years? So to answer this question, we have to basically write down all the orders. When we are talking about orders, that number of orders, so we have to use a count function and we have to restrict the data for 5 years, and then we have to kind of use a top one query and put a descent order by descending. That will also give us the answer. So here is the answer. So if you see this, as I told you, we'll be using the count function and we'll figure it out. So one thing is we have to restrict the data for 5 years. For 5 years, I am using here a day function, 1500 I put. If you basically for 5 years is 365 into 5, which will be giving us 1830. So we'll basically make it 830, and now if I run this query is going to give us, number of customers who has put maximum orders in last 5 years. These are going to give us around 17,294 customers who has put a lot of orders, and if the maximum orders has put by the a particular customer called 14155, he has put 6,737 orders. Now, next move to the next question. Next question is, which customer placed the largest number of items in a single order? So now we need to figure it out, which customer has placed the largest number of items in a single order. So now for any kind of e-commerce company, your order can have multiple items. When we are placing the order, it can have multiple items. So which customer has placed the which customer has basically largest number of items in a single order? So answer is very, very simple. I am just kind of figuring out the customers, and we're filtering on the items where items is equal to the maximum items from the table. And this particular custom has 101 items. So this customer 11188, this customer has 101 items. So this customer has placed the maximum number. This customer has maximum number of items in a single order. Now let's go to the next question. Next question is, which customer has the highest return rate if return data is available? Yes, we have the return data and we need to figure it out. We can say highest return, maybe let's say, highest number of returns. So for that, what we need to do, we have to write a query like that. If you see this particular table, we have a return number. We have a return number column in this particular sales order table, sales detail table. So now what we need to do, we need to really figure it out, how many customers or which are the customers who has the returns and which customer has the maximum returns. Yeah, so this is the query I have written here. If you see, I wanted to find out the customer who has maximum returns. So what I have done, I have wrote the query in the same way we have wrote in the very first question for very first question. So here we are taking the customer and we are using a count function where count of return number is greater than 1. That's to restrict the data or just to filter the data. But again, I am taking the top one. So this particular customer 14155 has 807 returns. He has returned items or orders for 807 times. So next question, which customer has highest average order value? Okay, to answer this question, you have to first understand one thing. So what is average order value? Average order value is basically when we divide total revenue by total number of orders. So we find out the average order value. So total revenue is, let's say, 1,000. Total number of orders is, let's say, 10. The average order value is 100. So that way we calculate the average order value. So for this question, let me to write the answer. So here is the query. So there are two small kind of city I have written here. One is to figure it out total orders, like we are using an aggregate function count to find out total orders. And second, city we are using total revenue, which is basically sum of revenue gross by each customer. So now we found out total orders and total revenue. So now if we will basically divide, then we'll find out the average order value. So if you see, these are the average order values for each customer. And if you see which customer has the maximum average order value, then 20538 customer has, no, I don't think that we have to put maybe a order by here, order by AOV, and that will give us the customer 11316. No, then we have to put it in descending way. Okay, so now 13342 and 28868. These are the two customers which average order value is 2284. So 13342 is basically have average order value is 2284.99. So this particular customer 13342, whose average order value is 2284.99. So he is the customer who has the highest average order value. So in this session, we discuss few questions related to the customer's behavior or customer segmentation analysis. You can say what we say in the e-commerce terminology. Maybe in our next session there are another few more customer behavior questions we can discuss to figure it out, like the average item value and the month on month, like which customer is has sales for each month, like for last 6 months, every month that particular customer is placing order, which customer is not placing order for last 3 months or 6 months. So all those informations we can find out in our next session. Thank you guys, thank you for attending.